my hair looks weird. Oh well. It's humid here. It's raining, which it didn't usually do at this time in California. So I am here, weird hair and all, in our house with painting stacked against the walls, and no furniture. And Roe is here
too. We made it.
We're in Pennsylvania. It's windy. It's windy from Guelph. You don't even have to say Guelph. We know you now. Hi from Sydney. Wow. New Jersey, just down, well, just across the river. Yeah, we feel special.
We're living in cardboard boxes, you guys, but we've made it to our beautiful new home.
Yeah. So thank you for traveling all this way, 3,000 miles to join us in our new home. It's like, boy, we didn't know if you'd show up.
And yet, here's Norway, here's Milwaukee.
Here's Norway.
Yeah. Malta.
Unbelievable.
Melanie Phoenix is holding things firm in California for us.
Yeah.
Hi, Elle. Can't wait to see you at Boone next week.
Yeah, next week. Boone, North Carolina?
North Carolina.
I want to say North Carolina.
Hi, River.
Hi, River. How you doing?
I don't know what that state is. Forgive me, Ray.
That's Missouri.
Missouri? That doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
Or maybe it's Montana. It's not Montana, is it? Montana is MN. Yeah.
You're a sight for sore eyes, Marty Beck.
How good to see you all here. It's so wonderful having you. We have 116 people, so we might as well go. Yeah. So I was thinking today about how much is going on in all of our lives, because we moved with basically no furniture, and so we have this beautiful house and we're so blessed, but we have to go buy furniture for it. So I have been in many, many department stores and furniture stores and antique stores just in the last week, and I have ADD. So my head starts to explode if you give me a choice between A and B. When you give me massive displays in supermarkets or department stores, I just go mentally insane. There's something that happens. Well, there are a number of things that happen to your brain when a bunch of information comes at you all in one big bolt, which is happening to all of us all the time now. The first thing is that you have something in your brain called an attention bottleneck. So that this is why, for example, antelope run in herds on the plains of Africa. You'd think that would make them easier prey for lions or leopards or whatever. No, no, no. Because the lion and the leopard have an attention bottleneck just like ours. And if you give them one antelope to kill, they will kill it. No! And it will give them no trouble. But if you give them 50 antelope, all in a bunch, that plethora of information hits the brain, hits the attention bottleneck, and it clogs as if there's sand in the neck of a funnel. And the lion or the leopard literally can't decide which antelope to kill, and they don't kill any of them. They're just like, ugh. So we have the same thing. Fighter pilots, when they put too many electronics in fighter plane cockpits, they thought that the pilots would have all this information. In fact, all these different electronic readouts clogged the attention bottleneck, so that not only did they not read the instruments, but they couldn't even hear the instructions coming from the air traffic control people. They would literally go what's called attention blind. And we all do this when our attention is over full. So that's been happening to me. When they put it in department stores, or especially malls, there's something called the Gruen transfer, named after a guy named Gruen.
Australians will be very familiar.
Australians know about this, apparently. Roses. I don't know. Anyway, Gruen transfer is something that happens in the brain when you get dazzled by so many different things in a store that you become kind of hypnotized and you can't leave. And you just start randomly buying stuff. You know how you can never find your car after you come out of the mall? They do that on purpose. Every mall is designed so that when you come in, you have to turn at least 3 times to get to the anchor stores, the big stores, or even any good stores. After you've turned 3 times and you've seen all this stuff out there, the Gruen transfer occurs in your brain, and you're sort of like, and you can't remember where you've been. You can't remember the way back. You can't remember where you put your car. And that way you stay in the mall longer and you shop longer and you spend more money. So they literally do that on purpose. Supermarkets, same thing. The grew and transfer just makes us into these sort of buying zombies, which is very much our culture, right? Like, we have so much. I remember coming home from China in 1983, and in China, there would be like a huge department store, and there would be 3 radios inside the department store, and all these people in Beijing would be like crowded into the department store looking at these 3 individual radios. Like, there wasn't a lot of grew and transfer going on yet. It's changed. But I remember coming back to the States after that and going to a grocery store and just feeling like, I can't do this. This is too much. And I have to say, I've been feeling a little that way after all this shopping we've been doing. And I think it's happening to everybody everywhere, no matter what you're looking at, whether it's buying stuff or learning stuff or working with stuff or meeting people. There's just so doggone much available to us. And when you look at ancient traditions, at tribal traditions, when you get to sacred ceremony, what happens in ceremonies, whether it's South America, North America, Africa, wherever you go, Siberia, wherever you have shamanic ceremonies, what they do is they simplify everything. Like, you drop everything except the ceremony. You go and you sit there, and a lot of people think, from our culture, think of it as boring. But often you are suffering in some way. Like, there will be, in a sweat lodge, there will be hot rocks, or often there will be fasting or drumming or things that are very, what they call one-pointed. Like, it brings your attention down to one point. It becomes simple and uncomfortable. So you're very alert, but everything is very still. Like, there's not a lot for your brain to manage energy-wise. Same thing in the mystical traditions of Christianity, Islam, Judaism. There's always the sacred place, which is empty and solitary and quiet. And this pretty much reaches its apex in Zen Buddhism, where people just sit and stare at a blank white wall for literally weeks on end. And the idea is just one thing. Just one thing. The idea is to bring, and your attention goes out, because the human mind, unlike animal minds, can bring back all these images from the past and project images to the future. So it can remain a very busy place where you can get into that zombie mode because there's so much. And at any time of transition, like the time I'm going through, there's more stuff comes in, more doubt, more anxiety, more logistics, more people, more procedures, and we get jumbled up in that. And I think there's a good reason that so many sacred traditions are about pulling down the level of input to the senses and then focusing the attention on something incredibly simple. And then the busiest thing there is in the environment is your own mind. And you start to be able to see the chaos in the mind and how it's actually starting to keep you from finding your car, from finding the way out of your thoughts to something that will take you where you want to go. So you get into the same days just dealing with your thinking that you can get in when you go to a department store. So I wanted to just take this time today and go, okay, let's see. The place where people go to wake up is always a place of simplicity. It's always just this. It's always letting go of the plethora, the myriad objects. In Chinese, they call it the 10,000 things. It's just everything out there. And if you get really simple at a time when things are too much, that's how you get to your vehicle, frankly, to whatever's going to take you where you want to go. Right now, whatever's going on in your life, I'm pretty sure it's a lot. It may not be too much, but I know it's a lot. And it's probably too much. Like, think about it. If you tune in right now, how many of you feel just tired? Like, today I woke up, I wasn't physically tired, but I thought if I have to go to one more department store, my brain will explode. Oh, that's another thing. I left out a huge component of this. This is my favorite thing. It's called decision fatigue. When you have to choose to do things in a huge number of choices, the brain actually starts to get exhausted, and you can physically feel it in your head. I know this because I once paid many, many dollars to have my head wired up so that I could see on a computer screen what my brain was doing, and I could match it to what I felt inside my head. And it turns out you can actually feel what the brain is doing. You just don't have any external markers. But when they hooked me up to the computer, I did. So now I know certain feelings, and one of them is decision fatigue. Let me tell you about the study where they really looked at this. They studied judges who had to see many, many cases, like in a town hall or something in a big city, where case after case after case, they have like 3 minutes for the lawyers to come up, present the case. Blah. So they found out that the judges in the morning their brains weren't tired, so they were making very thoughtful decisions. But by afternoon, by afternoon, they had decision fatigue in their brains, and they just started sending people to prison because they were tired of making decisions. So they just were like, I'll lock them all up. And so if you do something illegal, please make sure that if you get caught doing it, please make sure your trial is scheduled for the morning, because you will get a fair hearing in the morning, but by afternoon, tired. So if you have a lot going on, and if you have decision fatigue, the most helpful response for me is to pull back, settle in, sit down. And that's what this is partly about, is that we're just here. You know, I have a million things I could be doing right now, but we're in the gathering room together, and we're talking about our inner lives, and let's just do this. So I'll tell you one more little corny life coachy thing I do that helps so much, and I call it, nobody knows this, it's so embarrassing, categorize and conquer. So for example, right now I'm just doing the gathering room things, right? If I went to move into my house, I might say, let me just unwrap paintings for a whole morning and do it in batches. So just cut the tape on 20 packages. Just open the package. Just take out the paintings. And if you do that, you can get through an enormous amount of stuff while still being in one pointed attention. And this is what they talk about in Zen monasteries. They say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You do these mundane tasks that keep you very focused in the present, because that helps you purify consciousness. Then you get enlightened, so they say. And after you're enlightened, chop wood, carry water. Those activities keep you centered. So Jack Kornfield, one of my favorite meditation teachers, wrote a wonderful book called After the Ecstasy, The Laundry. It's these mundane tasks done with full attention, with one pointedness, can bring us back to a purification of consciousness in the midst of anything whatsoever. Massive traffic, just drive through the massive traffic. Just one thing. Don't think about anything else. Need a million things? Just focus on one thing. Go get it. Or one category of things. Everything made of cloth, I will now put in a pile, that kind of thing. And the same thing with your inner life. It's like, okay, if I'm going to grieve, if I'm grieving, if I've lost something or someone, I need time to just grieve. So once I lost a friend, like 10 years ago, and I gave myself like half an hour every morning for 6 months just to feel sad about losing this one friend. And it was just, I would just sit down It was when I would usually have been meditating, but I needed to grieve, and grief is heavy. It's really strong work. So I would focus on it, and it worked. And it made me feel connected to my friend and made me feel like there wasn't actually a separation. And eventually I got to the point where it felt very integrated again and I could move on. But whatever you've got to do in your life, try doing it one thing at a time. And every single thing that you do, if you just do that fully, is your vehicle to the purification of consciousness. Cooking, washing the dishes, walking the dogs, sweeping the floor. They are all activities that take us to awakening if we can just be fully and absolutely present with them. So when things are too much, that's what you do. Categorize and conquer. Take it down to one thing. Do that one thing for a given time, then do one other thing for a given time. It works. It's happy. And then even a busy, chaotic time actually becomes more conducive to awakening. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And now I wonder if you have any questions.
We have a question here from River.
So she says, what if the one thing, in my case, grieving, becomes too much? Even the one thing, what do you do then? Really good point. I actually set a timer, and I not only give myself time to do just one thing, but I give myself a limited time. So I could have grieved for my friend all day. I mean, we were very close. So I could have felt sad all day. And I obviously thought about her and grieved part of the time, all through the day. But that concentrated time, I actually put a time limit on it. When I write now, it's very important to the quality of the writing that I set a limit on each session of writing and that I then switch. So there's something called an ultradian rhythm. You've heard about circadian rhythm. It's the sleep-wake system. Well, throughout the day, in 90-minute increments, your energy peaks and then troughs. So if you do something for more than 90 minutes, you're likely to get attention burnout, the Gruen transfer, decision fatigue. But if you can shift every 30 to 90 minutes and really focus, give yourself an hour to grieve, and that's that, you'll find that you can do it. That's why therapy works. You know, you have that 1 hour and you know that's going to be your hour and it really helps. But if you have a lot to deal with, do it every day and then do something else. Go pet a puppy, you know. You can still have that sadness on board, but bring something else into your attention. Speaking of grieving and writing, I'm always talking about my friend Liz Gilbert, and she lost her partner to cancer, horrible 2-year, like 18-month death. And then had to sit down and write this frothy novel that she'd promised to her publisher. And she thought, how can I do this? I am grieving, I need to do this. Instead, she sat down and forced herself to go into a totally different mindset in order to write. And now she says that book saved her because she'd be in the middle of the writing and by golly, the grief would be gone for a while. Because her attention, that attention bottleneck can only handle so much. So even when you grieve deeply, if you shift, especially if you become creative, that can actually take you out of the grief and give you a break, give you a rest, and you need that. So timed effort is very positive. So Tracy says, what do you do to manage your ADHD? Oh my gosh, my poor, long-suffering.
Don't ask this question.
Don't ask. Well, for example, I have a watch with alarms that tells me when things are due. I have people who know I have ADHD who will gently remind me again and again and again. And then I just try to cut myself some slack because my brain doesn't work like other people's, like everybody else's, but it works okay for me. I mean, it's kind of fun to have ADHD sometimes. It's like squirrel, you know, you can be happy about a lot of things when you have ADHD. So I try to look at it as a difference, not a disability. But it makes me incredibly vulnerable to things like attention blockage. I can get really easily overwhelmed and my head literally hurts and I just want to cry and cry and cry when there's too much input. So this for me is a really strong incentive to get to that one-pointed attention. And even with ADHD, I can get my mind very still through practice. And it's a motivation to practice, because without some kind of anchor point, it can be pretty dicey. It's a lot. It's a lot to handle. But it can be done. Yay. Alexa says, how do you balance major concrete life decisions along with doing your own inner work? I don't think there's any difference. Like, if I didn't have my inner work, that's the foundation, right? Everything else has to come from that foundation. It's like the biblical parable. Jesus said, you know, if you build your house on sand, then the storm comes and the house falls down. If you build your house on a rock, then the storm comes and the house is fine. And by that, he meant if you have a foundation level of peace, of inner homegoing, of connection to your own divinity. He also said the kingdom of God is within you. So go to that kingdom, you know, go to the place inside you where you are connected to the divine. That is the foundation. And every decision will be better grounded because of that. So it's, for me, it's practice first, decisions second. Always, always, always. Yeah, great question. Okay, Donna. Hi, Donna. How do you silence the judgmental inner voice that says you must do it all and all at the same time? This is kind of, I mean, this is part of my doctoral work. I was looking at how do people handle contradictory inner voices that come from the culture. That's the thing you have to realize, is the inner voice is really not your inner life at all. It's the introjection, is the psychological word, of your cultural standards. And for example, our culture says two things. Family is everything. Nothing is as important as family. And your entire life is about individual achievement in jobs that take you away from family. So for both women and men, but in the 80s when I was doing this research, it was more on women. Now men are getting really, really stressed. But they're contradictory. No matter what you do, if you do something well, you're doing something else badly. So the inner voices never stop yowling. And what you have to do is recognize that those voices are not your voice. So I love Mary Oliver's poem, The Journey, about going out on a wild night and people grabbing at you and saying, mend my life. And she says, gradually, you kept moving forward, listening to a voice you gradually recognized as your own. And you go forward to save the only life that you can save, which is yours. And really, all the voices yammering, that creates an attention block. And you can feel the frustration, the teariness, the fragmentation, the chaos inside. Go away, sit down, find a place to be quiet. Your own voice is, as it says in the Old Testament, there's a prophet is running from people who want to hurt him, and then he hides in a cave, and then there's a massive earthquake. And God says to him, I'm going to speak to you. And there's an earthquake. But God was not in the earthquake. And then after the earthquake, there was a fire, but God was not in the fire. And after the fire, there was a storm, but I'm getting this wrong. God was not in the storm. And after the storm, a still small voice. That still small voice in the chaos, that whisper, is your real true self. And it's very faint, but it's very, very sweet. It's very, loving, it's very calm, it's very simple, it's very quiet, and it's you. The clamor, anything that feels like clamor or overload is not you. You communicate with your meat self through a still small voice, and it feels like it comes from the chest for me. For most people, it feels like it's coming up from the body rather than down from the brain. So get away, get quiet, and focus on the still small voice that says, here's what I'm feeling right now. Here's what I need. Here's what I must do to be whole. And it won't mislead you. You will find it, and it will lead you the right way. So Vicky says, how do you let go of major events that are beyond your control when the consequences are so fearful? Yeah, we're all pretty much on a little spinning rock that seems to have a lot of weather issues at the moment. where human beings killed in the 20th century alone 100 million other human beings. I mean, this is a frightening place with massive events going on. So there are two things that I do. And the first thing is to offer yourself as a servant. As Diane Ackerman says, she wrote this beautiful prayer for school prayers, non-denominational, non-religious prayer. And it says, I offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature, a messenger of wisdom, guardian of nature, a messenger, a healer of miseries, a messenger of wonder, an architect of peace. So you offer yourself that way every single day. Like, get still and say, "This, I am here to be used by whatever loving power there is for the best possible purpose. I don't know what that is, but I know it will bring me peace." So that's the first thing you do. Offer yourself humbly as all those things. And then secondly, just do one thing in front of you. Like, I offer myself, I get up in the morning and I genuinely want to help save the world. I think we all do, right? We genuinely want that. That's why superhero movies are so awesome. We all want to help save the world. And one human mind is amazing. Like, the power of one human being can be phenomenal, world-changing. So offer yourself. And then stop being so grandiose. Chop wood, carry water. After the ecstasy, the laundry. And sometimes, you know, most of the time, this morning it was just like, sort your clothes out, Beck. Like, you don't need these clothes to live here. These are California clothes. You got to get rid of some of these clothes. Okay, so decision fatigue. Go in, get rid of some of my clothes. Is that going to help save the world? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, Goodwill will get some nice things. But every now and again, through that same thing, the voice says, now write a book. You know, and the voice said that this morning too. It's time to start writing again. And then you'll be like, we were meeting with some friends in New Jersey, and someone sent a message to me through a woman who was there, who didn't, it was a long story, but like, a friend of friends sent a message saying, thank you for writing a certain book. It had really helped her. And I sat there in that room going, all I've done all day is run around like a chicken with my head cut off. But all that time, that book that I wrote 10, 20 years ago was finding its way to someone it could help. So I don't know what any one action that I do is going to help the world. It doesn't have to be writing a book. It could be one conversation with someone. I have a cousin whose entire childhood was changed when her dad took her to his office. And there was a secretary there that really liked children. And my cousin was 4. And she said this secretary got down on her knees, so she was eye to eye, and she started talking to my cousin. You know, how are you? What's your, you know, what do you want to see? What are you thinking about? She said, nobody had ever looked at me that way. No one ever saw me the way this one woman did. That single encounter changed my cousin's life permanently. 40 years later, she was still talking about it. You don't know. You don't know how you're going to be used to cut through this massive amount of action and stuff, physical stuff, and human intercourse of all kinds, and you don't know how the divine is going to work the Rubik's Cube of the world at this point. And it may look like it's going into less order, because if you've ever solved a Rubik's Cube, you know you have to mess up what looks like order sometimes to get the whole thing to work. We're all little pieces of that. So let something more intelligent than we are, the intelligence of life itself, or our higher intelligence, guide our actions by coming home to the still place, by listening to the voice that we gradually are learning to recognize as our own, to save the only life that each of us can save. I love you guys. It's so nice of you to come to my house in Pennsylvania. And I'll see you again next week. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Love you.